So today we'll be taking a look at Aleister Black's return teaser, what's going on between Roman Reigns and Rollins, and more. Let's start things off with Aleister Black's WWE return. There were a few rumors weeks ago that claimed Aleister Black was filming content for his return that focused on his character's life growing up. Turns out that rumor was true, because that's what we just saw on Smackdown. Aleister Black appeared on WWE television this week for the first time since October 2020. There was a point a few months ago where his status was a huge question mark. They were planning to move him back to NXT. His wife had a pretty controversial departure from WWE, and just no one knew what was going to happen with him next. Thankfully, it looks like Aleister Black is still getting a fresh restart over on SmackDown. So let's talk about what we can see and what we sort of expected from the new Aleister Black. Aleister Black has always been a dark and mysterious character, so it looks like they're sticking with that same idea, but they're switching things up and adding more backstory to explain how he became the character that he is today. Aleister Black appears in a room full of candles and has a book in his hand titled Tales of the Dark Father. Aleister Black begins to tell the story of his childhood and how his father would take him to many funerals and many other celebrations of life. There were some great animation scenes going on while Aleister Black told the story, just to give viewers a better visual of the story, which was a very nice touch. He mentions how his father became more distant and colder towards him over time. He mentions how he learned from his father that it's not about how to defeat the dragon, it's about how to become the dragon. We did see a picture of a dragon that had the text, "The Dragon," on it. But then Aleister Black turns his attention towards the viewers and started taking some shots towards them. He calls the viewers weak-minded fools and how he can never be like us. He calls us the monsters and how he would never help us. He says we're the ones who revealed the true rotten nature of man. He says what we do is vile and should be condemned. This was the end of Chapter 1. WWE did label that as Chapter 1, so we'll most definitely get one new chapter every week on SmackDown from this point on, leading up to his big actual return. How many chapters does his story have? No one knows, but WWE sort of does this thing with a returning character for about 4 to 5 weeks, right around that ballpark, so there may be a handful of more chapters to get into his story. But Chapter 1 and this whole concept, even down to the actual animation of the story, was absolutely amazing. If handled right, Aleister Black can be another in-depth character, and that's what we needed more of in WWE. We don't really have enough deep, complex characters, but telling by Chapter 1 alone, it already looks like Aleister Black has the potential to become one of these characters. A lot of people are comparing this sort of storytelling to other superstars, like Bray Wyatt and Finn. Bray Wyatt, of course, has this super detailed and complex family background that made him turn out to be the man he is today. Finn also had a similar sort of series when he first came to the main roster, where he explained the backstory for his demon persona with some animations as well. So, is this leading to something like that? Is the dragon Aleister Black's fiend-like alter ego? No, it doesn't seem like that's the case at all. Aleister Black did mention how he's going to introduce us and tell us all about him, but it doesn't look like he was talking about himself in third person. It looks like that him is referring to this Dark Father character. So it doesn't seem like a crazy demon or fiend alter ego for Aleister Black or anything like that. With the title of the book being Tales of the Dark Father, it looks like all the chapters will be Aleister Black telling stories about his Dark Father and how he turned dark as a result of what he learned from his father, which is great, similar to Bray Wyatt and how he introduced all these family characters like Sister Abigail. It's nice to see another superstar tell us about a dark family member that really had a big influence on them. We'll see what's next for the Tales of the Dark Father, and we'll possibly learn the fate of Aleister Black's father at the end of the story as well. But what did you think of Aleister Black's return? Does it have you intrigued? So let's get into the latest on Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. Roman Reigns is just completely surrounded with possible contenders for the title right now. Cesaro made his case after WrestleMania, Daniel Bryan is sticking around, and now Seth Rollins seems to be lightly hanging around Roman's story as well. Over the last few days, we talked about how Seth Rollins called himself Roman's nickname of being the end-all be-all. Seth referred to himself and Roman as two goats, and now we have another small moment on SmackDown. Cesaro, Daniel Bryan, Seth Rollins, and Jey are all out in the ring having a discussion. Roman Reigns comes out to acknowledge everyone's presence except Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins also returned the favor of not acknowledging Roman the entire time that Roman was out there. So it's not known if this was intentional or not, but it definitely stood out. Roman talks to Jey, Cesaro, and Daniel Bryan, but fully ignores Seth Rollins. That got some fans talking. Technically, we had Roman and Seth sharing a segment for the first time in forever, but nothing really actually happened between the two of them. Just both characters basically disrespecting and ignoring each other. So, what comes out of that? Seth Rollins also had another moment where he was giving Jey instructions, telling him to follow his lead when they were planning an attack on Cesaro and Daniel Bryan. This whole interaction between Seth and Jey could also bring up some issues with Roman Reigns. Jey is obviously Roman's right-hand man and only listens to orders from Roman. Roman wouldn't appreciate Seth giving orders to Jey, and Roman should also feel some type of way towards Jey for listening to Seth. So as you can tell, Seth Rollins is definitely doing a lot of little things that should be getting on Roman's nerves, but Roman has yet to acknowledge his existence. There's also this other fan theory going around about what if Seth Rollins joined the bloodline with Roman and Jey to have this sort of remixed version of the Shield. Seth falls in line, wants to serve Roman Reigns, so he joins them, and now Roman and Seth are back in a faction together with Jey as their third man. It's a bit ridiculous and unrealistic, but it does sound pretty interesting. How will Roman and Seth work together with their completely new personas? How will they interact? How will they get along? Maybe if they do link up, then that'll be the build-up to Seth Rollins realizing that Roman is out of his mind. So he leaves the faction, face turns, and becomes Roman's next rival. It does sound like some version of that idea would be pretty interesting. A lot of fans are already looking forward to Roman vs. Seth, but Roman does have his hands pretty full right now. Roman Reigns has to finish things with Daniel Bryan, Cesaro seems to be next in line, and Edge is still lurking in the background somewhere. So it may be a while before we get to see anything with Roman and Seth, but there seems to be a lot of teasers and hints going on right now before our eyes. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Are you excited for Aleister Black's return? And would you like to see Roman and Seth reunite? Leave your comments, don't forget to subscribe, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.